Good morning, guys. Today I'm going to be doing a install of a EPS electronic power steering on a 2015 to 2020 Pioneer 500. I'm going to go over all the installation procedures and any tips or tricks that I see for you to do, kind of go over step by step so even you can install this. Let's get started. All right, guys, let's get this EPS installed for the P500. It's called the Electra Assist from Rugged ATV Parts, also known as Demon Powersports and their heavier duty stuff. We're going to do an unboxing, show you guys what comes in it, what's included, and we'll go from there. All right, guys, this is your kit, your motor, your computer with wiring harness, your steering shafts, U-joints, 3 brackets, the hardware that you're going to need. They gave you some electronic terminals and clips, and looks like that's heat shrink right there. And then your installation manual. That's everything you're going to get with this kit. We're going to take off the wheels and tires, and we're going to remove the hood. 2 clips up top to remove the hood. Take off your wheels and tires, and we'll get to the next part. All right, guys, after you got your wheels and tires off and your hood off, the next step is to take off the steering shaft, and we're going to do that next. Next step, you can see here, if you look through where the radiator is back behind it, there's the steering shaft for the rack and pinion. I got a 10mm wrench, and we're going to loosen this up and take this off. All right, got that loose. All right, guys, next thing I'm going to do is take this WD-40. I'm going to spray it in all the joints, try to make sure they're not corroded or stuck on. So just spray some corrosion inhibitor, PB Blaster, WD-40, whatever you got, so we can get this thing loosened up. And once you tapped it on the bottom and you know that it's loose, take a punch and a hammer or something that you can just tap on it and knock the steering shaft U-joint from the actual shaft itself. And that's what we want right there. Pull that piece out. All right, guys, once you got the lower U-joint out, we're going to take off the whole steering shaft itself. All right, guys, we want to take that steering shaft out. Go ahead and set it down. We're going to be replacing that with your bottom. I believe this is the bottom shaft, and this is going to be the top shaft along with the power steering motor. So let's get that installed next. Let's get this steering shaft onto the rack and pinion like so. That's installed. Now we're going to grab that motor and put it on top of there. It should line up with the bigger splines right there. Right now, your motor is going to go into the lower shaft like so. I'm going to face that up where I can see it. Kind of turn it around out of the way for a minute here. Just so I can get everything secured. All right, let's move on to the next step. The bolts that you pull out from Honda are 10mm, but the ones that you're gonna replace are looks like a 13mm. So like I said, stock is 10. This is a 13, and I'm not gonna really tighten it all the way down yet, like as tight as I can. I just want to get it to where it holds up the motor a little bit better. So once you got the motor in there and you got the lower shaft somewhat tight, you got 2 metal brackets here. This is going to be the lower bracket that's going to go underneath, and this is going to be the top bracket that's going to go over the mount. So I think the easiest thing to do is take your 3 10mm bolts that you're going to find that are going to go in these holes, and let's go ahead and get these aligned and snug down before we get too much farther. So let's do that next. Up to this point, there you go. You can see how your upper and lower bracket is going to move and how you can move the motor just by keeping these a little loose. All right, so this top bracket is going to go underneath here the same way, and we're going to use the hardware to make it basically sandwich this plate right here. So let's do that next. So the kit comes with 6 bolts and 6 nuts, which you can see right here. I got 6 holes. So I pulled those from the hardware kit, and now we're going to pull the bolts up from the bottom up through both of the plates, and then put the nuts down on top. Get all my bolt alignment set and stuff like that, so I know it's where I want it. All right, man, very easy so far. All right, so I think the next thing is going to be to do the upper steering shaft. Let's get everything, make sure everything's snug, tight enough, and we'll move on to the next step. We're getting the steering shaft, the upper steering shaft aligned. I'm just putting the bolts back in after we loosened everything up. Like, grab your 13 millimeter. Get that tightened up, and then I'm going to use a wrench for the other 2 up top.
One more up top.
Next step is going to be to install the mount for the ECU. After you got everything installed, actually let me back that up a bit. Before you install this top plate right here, when you're going together with it, I would recommend you go ahead and install this piece for the ECU bracket if you're going to leave it here first. I'm doing a radiator relocate, and I think I'm going to have to move this ECU module mounting anyways, so I don't want to leave it here. For this video, I'll go ahead and temporarily install it. All right, just line up that 10 millimeter bolt in the back. You can use your finger. Got one more to do on this side. All right, smaller ratcheting wrenches work the best here. All right, once you're happy with your bolt tightness, that's done. And let's get this thing wired in. Guys, this part should be very, very simple. All right, guys, I got a CRC dielectric grease. This is what I use for all my electrical components. I'm just going to be very easy with it. Don't overdo this, thinking more is better. All right, like I said, just the littlest amount. That's it. Now, after I got the dielectric grease in there, the wire that's coming from the shaft farthest away is going to go to the one closest to the driver's side. It's going to click in. You'll know that it's locked. Easy peasy. So this one is going to be a indicator light, and I can talk to you guys more about that, or you'll see it in the in your installation instructions. Basically, you got power, like a switch power wire there, and this connection here. All right, and that one clicked as well. And then this last one is going to be from the actual motor itself. There. All right, now your ECU is connected, and it's up pretty high and dry. I may want to try to move it up higher this way or over here or up here. I'm not sure yet, but I do need to get a radiator relocate in here as well. So like I said, this may have to move in the future. With these two just kind of interloop to the module, so they're not going to go anywhere. This one These two right here are going to hook up. You're going to run this along through your frame underneath, and you're going to hook this directly to your battery. So go ahead and run these cables to your battery. If you're running your power wire to your battery, the best place you want to do it is to drop these wires straight down here behind the little like mini firewall, I guess you could call it, and that way you'll have room to get it all the way back there to the motor. You're probably going to have to take off your bottom skid plate, so go ahead and take off your bottom skid plate and run those wires up underneath your chassis, but on top of the skid plate. You'll follow the other wires. You should be able to see them right down through there. Guys, so down here on the bottom, I dropped the power harness for the power and ground down to the bottom of the machine, and I took 5 skid plate bolts loose down here, and then I'm gonna try to get to where I can see decent and put these wires alongside the red and black and just push it just enough to where I can see when I get back down under here where all this wire goes. And we're underneath the P500. There's our wires right there. Make sure not to pinch anything. All right. Just feed your power wires back around to the other side. And it is literally that easy. There's all my power wires right there. Go up to my battery. All right. You can go ahead and connect all of those. And I think you just got the ignition switch to run ignition power, so it turns on when your ignition is on. We'll run that next. All right, guys, last thing you want to do is you want to take your 12-volt ignition wire and go to your cigarette lighter plug in the back down here. Kind of hard to see. Let's see if I can show you. But run your 12-volt wire, your white wire, and splice it into the white wire of your 12-volt plug. Let's see if I can make this any brighter without falling. Plug it in right there, and once you've connected your battery and you have power ran to the ignition switch, whenever you turn the key on, once that ignition is on, now the 12-volt is going to get power and your power steering will come on, and that way it doesn't drain your battery, because that's off when your key is off, so it won't steady pull power. That's pretty much it, guys. Tighten up everything and put your wheels and tires back on, and your power steering is installed. If you got any other questions, just comment down below and I'll try to help you out.